Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I want to ask you to do me a favor. I want you to take a moment to imagine that today, the day that you are watching this video, is January 1st of 2022, and I want you to ask yourself a question. What is it that you have actually accomplished over the previous 365 days? There are some people that will hear that question and will immediately start to rattle off all of the activities that they've been involved in. That is actually not the question. There are others that will hear what I just asked and will start to talk about all the things that happened around them. That is not the question. There are others that will talk about all the things that they've bought for their collection. That is also not the question. The question that I am asking is, what is it that you have purposefully set out to accomplish in the previous 365 days that you have actually accomplished? That is the question that I want you to ask yourself. And the big question, the overarching thing is, have you just wasted an entire year doing things that don't necessarily make you happy? And I ask this question because there are a lot of collectors out there in this hobby, new and old, that get swept up in FOMO. They get swept up in the excitement of what is happening in our market. They get swept up with the hot book that they had never heard about before today, but that book is the most important thing to them at that very moment. All too often, we are blown in lots of different directions as collectors because we're human, right? Let's be completely honest. Because we're human and we have emotions, we get swept up and we get blown in lots of different directions. The challenge with getting swept up into things is that we potentially never find our own true north. That true north that makes us happy, that true north that gives us satisfaction. All too often, we are out there doing a lot of things. We are spending a lot of money. We are buying a lot of stuff, and none of those things are actually making us happy. And that is definitely a challenge because in this hobby, and it doesn't matter which hobby you're talking about, comic book collecting, sports cards, statues, whatever it is easy to spend money, but that isn't necessarily the thing that is actually going to make us happy. And so we have to figure out what it is that actually makes us happy and then try to find a way to actually do that thing. There was a statistic that I saw recently that talked about the fact that if of all the people that make New Year's resolutions, only about 25% of those people stick with those resolutions for 3 months. And an even smaller number than 25% of people actually achieve their goals. It's 8%. When you think about all of the people out there that make New Year's resolutions and only 8% actually achieve their goal of losing weight, getting a better job, getting a promotion, buying a house, whatever that resolution is, only 8% actually do it. And why is that? It's because we as people spend a lot of time wishing for things, right? We come up as collectors with wish lists, want lists, things that we want. All too often, we are waiting for things to happen to us, for us, around us. I personally don't like that. I don't like that idea of getting lucky, of getting a lucky bounce, of selling a book at the right time or buying a book at the right time. I am a big fan of shaping my environment to allow me to be successful regardless of that environment. I don't want to win by chance. I want to win because I have a plan, because I came up with a strategy. I have a plan and I executed against that plan and I made adjustments where necessary to achieve whatever it is that I had set my mind to. And the question again is, have you wasted an entire year blowing in the winds, never finding your true north because you didn't actually have a plan? One of the things that gives me a lot of excitement and enjoyment, honestly, is the messages that I receive from people that have followed some of my advice in videos in which I've actually spoken about goal setting. People that are new and old to this hobby that have followed the advice and actually been able to do some really awesome things for their collection. And I'm not just talking about those people that have been able to buy some really awesome comics, but just people that have found a way to focus their energies and efforts to accomplish something. And in some cases, it is people that have rebagged and boarded their entire collections, cataloged their entire collections, set up their own comic book rooms, or better organized their comic book rooms. Others have messaged me saying that they have come back into the hobby, gone through a collection that they haven't touched in 20, 30 years, if not longer, and they've started to send some of those books in, and they're getting them back, and the grades are amazing, and they are excited to be back in the hobby. And in a small way, I've been part of that, and to me, that is very rewarding. But I want more people to have those types of wonderful experiences, right? Where we are being successful, we're enhancing our collections, we're enjoying this hobby to its fullest extent versus spending a lot of money and getting swept up in things and not actually having much to show for all of the energy and activity at the end of the day. The good news is that right now it is only October-ish, September-ish, right? In 2021. And you actually have an opportunity right now. You honestly have an opportunity to set some goals for your collection. Set some goals for this hobby. And I honestly don't know what those goals are, and I really don't care. I really don't. I just want you to take some time to think about it. Think about what it is that you want and how you're going to go after, what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want out of this hobby, because this hobby is amazing. It is amazing. And I'm not just talking about the money. I'm talking about the community, the fellowship, the camaraderie, whatever that thing is that you want from this hobby, write it out. Come up with a plan. And there are videos here on the channel that will actually help you to figure some of this stuff out, to create what are called SMART goals. And there are lots of different ways that SMART goals are configured, but it essentially, at least one form of it, stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and also time bound. That is essentially the SMART method, right? And so it is about creating a goal for yourself that you can articulate, that you can measure, that you can track, and that you will go after in a fixed amount of time. I recently had an opportunity to talk to Jim Mint and Steph. I was on Jim Mint's channel, and we spent some time actually talking about goal setting. And Jim mentioned to me that he does a pretty good job of setting goals, but he doesn't always set the next goal. So when he achieves one, it takes him a little time before he sets the next goal. I was actually pleased to hear that he does set goals because, again, I think that people are much more likely to be successful and potentially even happy by setting goals and by taking the time to think about what it is that they actually want. And then when they actually get that thing, if they've done their homework the right way, that is a very satisfying thing. And my question to Jim was, are you setting your goals big enough? And are you setting enough goals? Because the truth of the matter is you don't have to just have one goal. You can actually have multiple goals. And if that is what you need to motivate yourself, to keep yourself moving in a forward direction, set multiple goals. Personally, at work, whenever I do goal setting, I typically have 5 goals for the entire year. 4 of them are typically related to the business. At least one of the 4 is a financial goal, and the 5th one is typically about some type of developmental thing. My point here is that you can have multiple SMART goals for your collection, and they can look at different aspects of this hobby that you might want to experience over the course of a year. And potentially even some of your SMART goals might span multiple years. That's actually okay. The time-bound element doesn't have to be limited to a year. You decide what is actually a meaningful amount of time for you to accomplish your realistic goal. My point here is that I don't want it to actually be January 1st, 2022, and then to have you have some regret that you've wasted an entire year. That brings me no satisfaction at all. So take the time. Think about what it is that you want. Set a goal and then get after it. And then send me a message to let me know how successful you are, because I honestly do believe that you will find a tremendous amount of success if you take some of this advice. I am actually not going to wrap this video up at this point. Typically, this is where I wrap it up. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to take some time to show you guys a couple of books that I found in the 100K collection just this last weekend. And there's a couple of really cool books here that I want to spend a few minutes talking about. But I will say to you, that if you are watching this video right now and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I want to officially and personally invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel now. If you've enjoyed the first part of this discussion, I definitely encourage you to leave a comment behind. If you don't agree that goal setting is relevant, tell me that as well, but also tell me why you don't think that it's relevant. With that said, I want to show you guys the very first book. And this one is one that I've been reading over the last few days. I've read the first 5 issues of this title, and it's actually a pretty cool title. The writing is okay. It's getting better as I work my way through the issues. But this is actually Blue Beetle issue number 1. And this is the first solo title series for Jaime Reyes. And Jaime, I think Blue Beetle is actually going to get his own show at some point on HBO Max. I think there were some rumors that he was going to get his show, possibly it was in development going back to, I want to say 2020. So we will see whether we will get a show or not on HBO Max. But I was able to find 3 copies of this solo series. And like I said, I've been reading it and it's not bad. It's reminiscent of a few other comics that I've read, like Dark Hawk, for example. Young teenager trying to figure things out. Stealth is another ready example that comes to mind. So this title came out before some of those in some respects, so grain of salt with some of that. Actually, I don't know if Dark Hawk did. I could be wrong about that. The second issue that I want to show you guys is issue number 12. And this one is actually the first appearance of an alien race that the Blue Beetle squares off against. And my thinking is that if there is indeed a show in development and we actually get it, then potentially his enemy might be a character or characters that we could see in that series. The book that I was actually looking for in that title that I did not find was issue number 3. At least I think it was issue number 3. It was the reintroduction of a character, Peacemaker, that also has a show at HBO Max. I think we're going to see it at some point. I want to say in 2021, but don't hold me to that. I was looking for that issue because I don't have, Fightin' 5 or something like that. I think that was the original appearance for Peacemaker. So I was hoping to find issue number 3, his reintroduction. No such luck. Found every other issue up to issue 12. No issue number 3. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that potentially this book is elsewhere in the collection. So we will see whether I'm able to locate it. The next book that I want to show you, I think is a really cool book, and it is related to the Blue Beetle. In this book, we actually get the Black Beetle pretending to be the Blue Beetle from the future. And it's actually a really cool cover. And that's actually why I pulled it, because this is an homage to The Killing Joke. I thought this was a really, really cool and creepy cover, as are many Joker covers. But I found 2 copies of that. And I will say, I think this is actually the first time that I've gone to hunt for a Booster Gold comic in my collection. I actually did read the first few issues of Booster Gold, and they were not bad. They honestly were not bad, and I may read a little more Booster Gold. So speaking of characters that might be in development that we may actually see on a screen at some point in the future, is this one right here. This is Ghost Rider, issue number 31. This is some Midnight Suns action again. A team that is rumored to be coming to the MCU. I don't know if we're going to see it or not, but found 2 issues of Rise of the Midnight Suns Ghost Rider issue number 31 in the collection. I already have, I think, 9.8 of this, but I found 2 more copies. I don't know if they're 9.8 candidates, but we shall see. And then the other massive stack that I found, I only pulled this many. I did find, I think, another 5 or 6 that are actually downstairs of Ghost Rider issue number 1. So Danny Ketch is rumored to be the version of Ghost Rider that we may see. I don't know if that's true or not, but happy to have found a nice stack of those books. I want to say I also have a 9.8 or 2 of that book. I don't know if some of these might qualify for a 9.8, but fingers crossed that we have some good stuff here and or downstairs that might ultimately be sent in to be graded. So we will see about that. And then the last 2 books that I'll show you, I don't think that there's anything special about either one of these books, but I pulled them because anything related to Black Adam kind of catches my attention right now. I'm a huge fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he is going to have a movie coming out, Black Adam. So whenever I see Black Adam comic, I pull it. This is issue number 3 of Shazam: The New Beginning, and we see Black Adam right there declaring that Shazam has indeed lost. And then the very last book that I found was issue number 4 right there. Again, another cool cover. I was not able to find issues 1 and 2. I did find, or 1, 2, yeah. I couldn't find 1 and 2, but I did find 3 and 4 of this 4-part mini-series. I think that these are probably just going to go back into the Shazam bin. I found those 2 books randomly in a bin that had nothing to do with Shazam, so I'm going to probably stick those back in the Shazam bin so I know where they are actually located. So now, with that, now that part 2 is done, I am going to wrap this video up. And as I mentioned before, I hope that you guys enjoyed the first part and the second part. If you did, please go ahead and leave a thumbs up and a comment behind, because again, it is good for the algorithm when people watch a longer percentage of the video and also engage with that video in terms of giving it a thumbs up or giving it a comment. Those are all good things that prompt YouTube to share that video with more people. So I want to thank you in advance for doing that. And as I mentioned, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and tap that button, turn on notifications, and that way you don't miss out on any other content that comes from the channel. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.